Hello, YouTubers, fellow tankers, even my own clanmates. You have arrived yet again at King's Court Reviews, where we are now today going to talk about the Tier 9 Heavy Maushen of the Germans and what it take. Now, for those who are already kind of familiar with the mouse, that's where this tank ends up. So, and those who are new, what I cover is pros, cons, kind of like is the line worth it? How does it balance with other lines in consideration? And then getting into a guide of like how to best play it. So, as you can see in the background, I do have the mouse in there so that you can see what it looks like. Let's go ahead and talk about the pros. The biggest pro, obviously, is its armor. It has a crap ton of armor. It makes it very difficult for a lot of people to pen it, even when you have like flat side shots into it. People sometimes can't even pen that. The gun is actually really nice on it. Really good damage output. It's pretty accurate. Travel velocity of the shell is really good. Aim time's really good on it. It is able to actually snipe quite well. Um, what else does it have? It has decent view range in comparison to other heavies, but honestly, heavies aren't the ones really needing a lot of view range because the idea is that they can get into it. Now, let's talk about where the cons come in. One, it's slow as all get up. You were talking about 20 kilometers is as high as it's going to get, which makes it to where, especially with today's day and age in World of Tanks, a lot of things is more about getting there fast, hitting hard, and then rolling through as quickly as possible. So there is a chance that your team will actually push right through the opponent well before you can really get there. When starting in this tank, you're going to run into another really big con, and that's going to be that the engine power is going to be so low that you won't be able to get up to speed. So I highly recommend that you try to get the engine probably first. The other bit about that is like even the rotation of the tank, like being able to turn left and right would be really slow. I think I even had a match where in the very beginning it was so slow that the opponent had actually spotted me before I could even turn far enough right to start moving forward. So bear that in mind. That is one of the bigger cons about it, is just how slow it is. The other con is it has a pretty large weak point that people exploit quite often. And that part really does kind of suck. One pro I forgot to mention though is its health. It has exceptionally high health. The line itself and the end result is the highest health in the game. So that said, I think it's the highest health by like 300. So I mean, you don't think you're like, oh man, I could take like double the shots of anyone else. It's not really the case. So is the line worth it? And how well does it really hold up in today's day and age? It definitely does. It definitely is worth it. I still feel the mouse is definitely a very adequate tank, very capable of defense, and still has a gun that can compete. That said, it is hard for it to compare really against the whole Type 5 phenomenon that's going on now, simply because, well, when we talk about Type 5s, you have the armor, you have the hit points, you have a derp gun that essentially you just dab the 2 key, and you're just boosting out more damage into your targets that they can't block no matter what they try to do. And that makes it kind of crappy. So, yeah, I feel like the mouse is still a really good take. It's definitely worth it. It really helps with those missions that you have that are going to be about blocking so much damage. But honestly, the meta right now is the Type 5 because because of the gun, right? Because the Type 5 can actually sit there and just waylay shots into you that they're like, it doesn't matter if they aim at your weak points or not. They're going to damage you whether they pen you or not, and that's the part that makes it kind of broken. That said, as a mouse, or even as this Maushen, right, you're able to pinpoint a lot of the weak points on a target. So if you know weak points and you're really good about it, this tank will definitely be fine. Now, getting into how to play the tank, right? And then actually I'll probably also talk about what tanks you need to kind of avoid. Obviously, for avoidance, you want to stay away from as much as possible the tanks that are really heavily armored and then have the derp guns. So Type 5s, Type 4s. Those are the ones that you don't really want to have to compete against because your armor is not going to keep you alive. And it's just more about how often are you going to be able to really nail the targets and pen them into their weak points in comparison to how often they're going to just keep damaging you. So like you'll see right there, that was like me sniping from a long distance. So this thing's capable of doing it. Now, one thing I will note, I continuously played with APCR. This is one of the tanks that I actually felt, you know what, it was worth just, you know, running a premium to get the money to just keep nailing as much as I could with the gun, and it helps for the grind. So I do recommend that. I know a lot of people might be against that. If you are against it, bear in mind your personal opinion of the tank might be a little rougher, simply because the tanks that you will be fighting most often and most likely in this tank are going to be other heavies, which means you're going to be trying to compete against them, where the gun penetration on the normal round is a little subpar, which is why I would use the premium round. The other part too is the whole sniping aspect. You want to make sure that you're hitting the weak spots as quickly as possible. So the weak spots on this tank, the things that you want to keep away from getting exploited. The cupola at the top there, that is just, you know, this little beacon of please shoot me. That's one of them. The cheeks on the turret is another one. So people can technically run their premium like heat or, you know, APCR rounds, and they'll most likely put it right through the cheek of your turret. So what that means is when you're aiming at a target and you shoot the target, don't sit there and keep looking right at them. Turn your turret a little bit, like wiggle it left and right, trying to keep it from being where they can shoot directly into that cheek, and that'll help you. So like, because if they get to the like part of that side there from the front, they're not going to pen that. It'll actually bounce and glance, or I'm sorry, I should say deflect. The key thing with this tank is making sure that you do get into key spots. You really need to, because of the fact that you do not have the speed. The other thing is, because you don't have the speed, try to read the map as much as you can. Because of the style of the tank and being a heavy, there's probably going to be opportunities you won't really be able to watch the map too much because you're going to be really in the thick of it, and then other times you absolutely can. You are an artillery magnet, almost guaranteed, because as a slow tank, any slow tank is an artillery magnet. Artillery loves you because you're slow. It makes it easier for them, especially if they're not very good at knowing how to, you know, aim their shots and lead the shots and time it and everything like that. So, as I point that out, the catch here is to try to stick to areas where people are just not going to be able to use, like basically you get cover from buildings and all that kind of stuff, so that way artillery can't keep nailing you. What you see there is like my angling, the armor is really thick, so I'm actually able to angle a little farther for like on my haul. But the catch is I'm trying to make sure not to sit too still, because like I said, they're going to aim for my cupola. That's really the weak point. And you'll see that this thing is really good at bouncing. Now the things that are shooting at me are technically not really high tier, right? So I have a slight advantage against these particular tanks. Now, the lower glacis plate is actually another weak spot on the Maushen, which means it's very good to try to keep that thing hidden, and that's also why you'll see that when I angle, I kind of overexpose my angle. The other bit to note there, and so when I say overexpose, I mean like I'm actually angling at like a 30-degree for my haul. What's really weird about this playstyle is I'm actually over-angling my haul while keeping my turret angled in a different direction. So usually what'll happen is if the target's in front of me, I will actually turn my turret or my haul like either to the left or right, like 20 to 30 degrees, but then I will turn my turret the opposite direction, right? So usually, like for example, if I'm aiming at this guy that's over there to the right of me, I would keep the haul to the left, and then I would have had my turret where I would take my shot, and then I would turn a little bit farther to the right. And the reason being is the timing on the turret traverse, right? So this allows me the shortest path to get the proper angle to make it to where I can bounce, deflect, or block their shots. But as I said, like, this thing does have armor, so you'll see I'm just blocking all sorts of shots. Try to stick with team members in this tank. That's another key component. Because you're so slow, it also means you're easy to lock out. If you run into a scenario where you are by yourself, you better start calling for help, and hopefully you called for help early, because if not, you're gonna get screwed, right? Because that's the way to really counter it, right? You want to actually keep the tank. If it's exposed or if it's by itself, that's when you want to. That's the way to counter it. Is you want to take multiple tanks and attack it at the same time, because it will not be able to handle multiple tanks at the same time by itself. Right? Those are those like broken tanks that they give you as rewards these days, where you'll have, oh yeah, I got like 400, 500 damage tank that shoots every 8 to 10 seconds. Like, yeah, okay, that's broke. But sorry about that. Not sure what happened. Lost some of my audio there. So yeah. Again, I hope you guys like this. I hope this stuff is helpful. Please let me know your thoughts. Let me know if there's other tanks that you want to see, or maybe you're hoping to see particular tanks coming sooner. And I will do my best to get it out there. Again, like, subscribe if you are enjoying this stuff. Help support the channel. Really does help if I get more people to subscribe, and that way I can actually get like a channel specific name that makes it easier to even look up my channel or even find my stuff. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you on my next video. Thank you so much again for watching.